since the last time all of us have been together, we've all seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, we have.
So, I mean, do we want to say spoilers, or can we stay spoiler free? What do you guys think?
Oh,
I think it's a double-edged sword, because it is a very difficult movie to talk about without spoiling. But also, you just want to blurt out but this part, and this part, and this part.
It's also just a very difficult movie to talk about.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'm gonna slap a big spoiler tag on it.
Okay.
So, let's go for it.
You do that. So, Mark, as the person who saw it last, lead the way.
This film is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just want to be a rock. Yeah.
Just sitting there in your rock world
With my
on the
googly
precipice
eyes.
of a rock cliff, next to maybe one other rock, just sharing the silence with the rock.
Can I say to start with that was my favorite scene in the film?
I feel like Patrick H. Willems has a strong case for a lawsuit. Seeing the rock with the googly eyes, all I could think of was Charles the Coconut. But yeah, it's God.
It's a film that somehow manages to be like it goes wildly back and forth between being like incredibly nihilistic and optimistic, but even with the sort of nihilism that exists there, it still kind of operates in a way where like you don't feel like all hope is lost. Like it's like it's okay to not feel nothing, but as you know, just whatever's here that you do find any enjoyment in, just enjoy that for what it is. And it's really, I've never had like anything in that kind of like mentality or philosophy approached from that angle that I can think of. And I came out of the film thinking like, you know what, now I certainly when I was younger would feel a lot more like that, and I'm in a much more kind of positive mindset these days. But I came out of this film thinking like, even if I do ever go back into that mindset, there are so many things from this film that I could pull out that's like I will always find a little kind of bit of hope or optimism. And just, you know, if that alone from the film was the only thing that I'd got from it, I would have thought this film was wonderful. But then there's so much more as well.
There is a theme with regards to that, remind me to come back to in my segment, because it's kind of, I feel, a similar theme to something I watched this week, where it's almost using like nihilism or a negative outlook on things to almost like come completely through that to find the hope. That's a weird common theme in things I've watched this week. I was just checking our letterboxd there, and Garrett, as the comparative low man, giving the movie a paltry 4.5 stars on your account. Was it a case of 5-star fear for you? How did you find the film?
The reason it's 4.5 instead of 5 is, I think by the time they got to the moral of the movie was maybe 10 minutes too long. That is like the sole reason, because I think this movie is sensational and wonderful. And I can kind of understand why people might hate it. Like, if you watch it and think it's either too cloying or too weird or too stupid, I totally understand.
It does get stupid at points.
It's safe to say it's a lot. Yeah. It is, and I mean this in the most positive way I can mean it. It's an assault on the senses.
This film is literally Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's the best named movie imaginable.
Do you know what I was thinking? I don't know if you got this as well, Garrett. Like, I was maybe only 45 minutes into this, and I was like, Jesus Christ, they are so lucky that Doctor Strange came out first, because that movie would look like absolute shit with how it played with the multiverse in comparison. This went swinging for the goddamn fences.
And yeah, I mentioned this last week, but now that I can spoil it, I can talk about it in like specifics. But the fact that this film introduces like a multiverse where everybody has hot dog cans, and they live in that world where they have hot dog cans playing piano with their toes, and sensually and weirdly seductively and rather disgustingly eating on each other's hot dog cans for some kind of weird pleasure. But they make you feel for those hot dog hand characters. Yeah. It's the same with the Rakakuni character. It's like you feel for that dumbass raccoon when it's separated.
I said this to you guys in the group chat. Rakakuni is like one of the best dumb gags I've seen in a film in years.
and they make you care about it.
Yeah.
Like, honest to goodness, care about the dumb raccoon gag. Same with like the rocks on the edge of a cliff thing. You will never feel more emotionally invested in two rocks falling off a cliff ever in the history of movies than you will watching this. So like, they take things that are very silly and very stupid, and in like lesser hands would just be throwaway gags. It's just the hot dog hand universe. But then they make you like honestly care about these stupid things in a way that is so effective and adds like so much depth and like interesting character to all of these scenarios. They don't just create a multiverse for the sake of creating a multiverse, they create a multiverse to make you care about it and to reinforce their central themes. And it's just such a smart movie.
Honestly, you were talking about like depth there, and there's more depth, and you understand more about the characters and like the dynamics specifically between Evelyn and Joy. There's more there in 2 hours and 20 minutes than a bunch of characters in 15 odd years of the MCU at points.
That's the reason every time a superhero movie is 3 hours long. Like, I like The Batman a lot. It's like, did it need to be that long?
Oh, no, God no.
Did it do nearly as much like universe building, character depth, and like emotional growth for characters as Everything Everywhere All at Once did in 220? Not even remotely close.
I mean, with that, you've obviously got like we're on to about the 9th iteration of the Batman at this point. So yeah. I wonder to some degree you can bypass some of that. It's like, hey, we don't need to, see the scenes of his parents being killed again for the 50th time.
He growls, he's mad.
Yeah.
There, go do your story.
I will say, like, I'm in agreement. I do think that by the time it gets to the point, there is about 10 minutes that didn't need to be there. But I didn't have the 5-star fear. Like, I still thought the film was exceptional.
It's the best film I've seen this year. Easily.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't even think it's particularly close. I loved it. It's just so I kind of like, I had seen maybe some clips of the teaser or even some frames. I don't think I ever watched a full trailer for this movie and saw everyone raving about it. And I love Michelle Yeoh. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going in complete like media blackout till I'm in the cinema watching this. So about 5 to 10 minutes in, when Jamie Lee Curtis shows up, I'm like, this is a cute little cameo. I wonder how they got her for this little A24 movie. This is really cool. Little did I realize that she's like maybe the 4th or 5th build character in this. Like, she's just a super important recurring character. She's great. Everybody, of course, has been throwing flowers left, right, and center at Michelle Yeoh, and she is fucking awesome in this. But I really want to focus in on the performance of Ke Kwan as her husband Raymond, and in particularly Stephanie Sue, who I have never seen in anything before as Joy / Jobu Tupaki. I thought she was fucking brilliant. I really, really dug her character, and how, again, this little unassuming, late teens, early 20s, unspecified daughter morphs from that kind of, insecure and constantly harangued by her mother child into this terrifying trans-dimensional antagonist. It was so fucking great. It's one for a movie that is so in concept silly, the way in which it delved into an incredibly complicated mother-daughter relationship and kind of generational cycles of, trauma and having to fit into certain roles and things like that were incredible. And how it explores that thing that we already said before, how it explores maybe that the nihilism or the negativity surrounding where Michelle Yeoh's character is in her life, in her universe. And it kind of, even though that's really dour and really sad, the way the story kind of crests at the end into giving you hope is really, like, I thought it was just, it seemed like it was just going to be a real bummer in terms of like that arc for most of the movie. But yeah, I found it really weirdly uplifting. And I talked to a friend of the show, Ian, about this, and it's like literally in the last half hour of that film, you feel pretty much every range, like the whole range of human emotion at various points in it. Like you're laughing out loud, you're nearly on the point of tears, you're sad, you're happy, you're whooping. It's just, it's fucking unbelievable.
And also from like a production aspect of it, I've only watched a few bits and pieces, but the directors, the Daniels, they were talking about the fact that there was like 5 VFX production people on this film. Like the scale in difference between the multiverse and the multiverse madness and this, and like this film looks unbelievable. And one of the directors was talking about the bit where Evelyn's character is being like fucking sucked through multiple different multiverses all in a matter of a couple of seconds. And he was like, oh yeah, I attached my like a camera to a GoPro tripod and was just walking around New York in different areas, and then just took that 4K footage, slapped it onto a green screen, had Michelle stand in front of it, pretend she was being thrown backwards, and that was it. And it's just like, while obviously there's an incredible amount of work that goes into the MCU films, and there are times where like a lot of that stuff that does look amazing, there is also a very distinctive like green screen effect look where everything you're looking at doesn't actually exist on the screen there. And I will always be a proponent of visual effects where possible and practical effects where possible. And there's so much of that here where obviously there are bits and pieces where there's a green screen around somewhere, but there's so much of this where it's either shot on location or it's shot in a way where it feels physical and real, and it was done on such a smaller budget as well. And I think that I think this film does look better than the Multiverse of Madness.
I always appreciate a movie that does time or dimensional travel in a slightly different way. And having come from the fairly straightforward, I knew it from the comics of America Chavez and her star portals being the way to navigate the multiverse, to literally the way to create an anchor point and travel between universes in this is to, and I quote, do something weird. So that it matches up with one specific universe where, the version of you in that universe is also doing that weird thing, so that it snaps you there, your consciousness there. Incredible stuff. And so it provided like a really good, there'd be really tense action scenes that are immediately broken up with her having to do something incredibly weird.
Let's be honest. As soon as you saw that trophy that looked like a butt plug, you were like, all right, well, this is foreshadowing something later on.
Yeah, like one of the most tense moments of action is 2 to 3 people in slow motion trying to fight over who gets to the butt plug shaped trophy first. 2 of them are trying to get to an arse first so that they can hop universes. And then I think it is Michelle Yeoh, isn't it, is just trying to like keep their arses away from it, so like she's kicking it across the floor. It's such a fucking good film, and it feels like we could spend the whole podcast talking about it and we still wouldn't do it justice, because there are so many things happening. Like you said, it's literally everything everywhere all at once. There's so many things happening and so many levels to what's happening. I think the way this movie is put together sonically as well as visually is really, really compelling. I think in the hands of lesser directors, this is an incredibly unwieldy thing to put to film. And not just everybody can come off the street and do a movie like this. This is very like a very singular vision, which is ironic considering it's 2 people directing it. But yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once, just fucking go see it. It's something people cry out for nowadays in 2022. Going to see a movie that is unlike any other movie. That's the strongest thing about it. We talk about the the characterization and the action, the visuals and things like that, but ultimately what it boils down to is you will not have a film experience like this year. And I know everybody kind of A24 kind of are the butt of jokes of being like the popular hipster movie studio du jour at the moment. But one thing I will say is anytime I've gone to see one of their fucking movies in the cinema, it is not an average cinema experience for me. So bravo to everybody involved in that film, and I really already want to go see it again.